Hi, welcome once again to the second episode of Shifting Focus, a talk with Sanjay Gupta. I work with DS Group as a VP, and I'm responsible for its packaging development and purchase function. Here in this show, we invite leaders, innovators, and game changers who speak their mind about social, economic, political, geographical, ecological, and psychological issues and way forward arise due to this pandemic. It is really great to have Mr. Suresh Gupta on this show today. He needs no introduction, but still I will very quickly go through it. Mr. Suresh Gupta holds a master's degree in management from Jawaharlal Bajaj Institute of Management. He is the ex-chairman and managing director of Huhtamaki PPL Limited, having more than 4 decades of very rich experience. He has been awarded various lifetime achievement awards. He is also the president of ICFA. But I feel more than that, he is a role model and inspiration for whole packaging fraternity for his progressive, consumer-centric, techno-savvy leadership skills. So, Sureji, I once again, from core of my heart, to spare your valuable time and join us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your
Thank,
voice is very, very
thank
critical to the
you
industry.
for inviting me, Sanjay. Thank you very much.
So now we open the show for further discussion.
Right.
So, sir, my first question is, how do you see pre and post-pandemic industry outlook to maintain their business models as sustainable when GDP of India is already down in consecutive 7 quarters, and that is pre-pandemic, and then this pandemic is there, and agencies all over the world like Fitch or Nomura or CRISIL are also downgrading our ratings. So how do you see it?
Right. Sanjay, the fact is that pre-pandemic, we were already as an economy in a bit of trouble because our sustained GDP growth had fallen from 8 to 9%. It had fallen to approximately 4 to 5%. And as you said, 7 quarters. So yes, absolutely. Uh, so we were already in trouble. In a way, it was a good preparation for the shock which came of the pandemic because a lot of the companies had really become quite frugal in their approach. You know what I mean by frugal is that you really are very careful about your expenditure. You are no longer lavish, you're no longer impulsive. You think very carefully before you spend, and you make it clear to all members of your team that everything needs a lot more focus. And that is because the times were tight. For 2 years, we've had almost 2 years, we've had a we've had a pretty sad time compared to the great times. You will remember the consumer goods industry growing at 20% per annum, and what fantastic times they were, 20 to 25%. But it got us somewhat ready for this disaster which happened. But having said this, the magnitude of the disaster is such that it is going to have a serious impact, despite our good lean and mean approach. A lot of the industry's lean and mean approach, which it learned over the last 2 years. But despite that, there is now, I think we should look at the near term, the short term, the medium term, and the long term. The good news is that, as an emerging nation with the aspirations of 1.3 billion people, which cannot be denied, the long term will be fine. I'm very positive on the long term because all these issues will sort themselves out. We will recover from tragedies, we will recover from downsides, and we will go up. And we will learn also, we will be so happy to go back to growth-driven strategies. But the near term is going to be extremely tough. Having said that, the positive aspect for us, for both the consumer goods industry, the fast-moving consumer goods industry, and us, is that we are a defensive sector. In the stock markets all around the world, packaging and FMCG is called a defensive stock. Why? Because when an entire economy does very well, we do moderately good. When an economy collapses, we are still alive because, we are very much in demand because we are essentials. It is like in COVID, essentials were still open, so most of our packaging factories were also covered under essentials. Why? Because our customers were declared as essentials and automatically we got declared as essential. Otherwise, the customers could not run. Having said that, we still have a lot of issues. The smaller companies have suffered extremely. Some of them are not going to open. This is true. It's very sad, but they were, as it is, on the edge because of the last 2 years of poor demand growth. And obviously 4 months has pushed them over the edge. But I think a lot will recover. But it will be a painful process. It's you don't have a team in place anymore, and you have to organize, you have to get things. I mean, just logistics is such a nightmare. Till 3 weeks ago, no one could get hold of a truck, and it's only now that things have started moving. So it's going to take some more time. So the near term, and by near term I mean the next 3 months, is not going to be good, even for us. Though it's much better, we should console ourselves that we are much better than large parts of the industry in other sectors, because there is demand, and the big plus point is that the entire inventory of FMCG has been wiped out. So when you're looking at, say, 75 days of stock from manufacturer to the retailer, that stock vanished. So 75 days of stock, 2.5 months, is almost 20% of annual production, which has to be first refilled. So there is an all-out effort to get that stock refilled. And I think everyone's experience is that even as recently as this morning, I mean, my wife was telling me that there's still so many things not available. So it's not that things have really hit the market at 100% stocking. So that is going to keep our demand side going at full blast. So the result is that, if Hindustan Unilever opens a factory, it's running at 100% in no time. So whoever is servicing that factory in terms of packaging material is also expected to run at full blast for the machinery which is servicing Unilever. But the near term will be tough. The short term, I think we could expect, that means 3 months from now, so let's say by October, we should be running at about 75%. And really the industry breaks even at around that level, 75%. Breaks even. Some don't, but some of the better run companies do. So I expect by October, on an average and with a slightly positive outlook, which we should have, that we will break even. And that is a great morale booster for anyone. I mean, no one likes to be losing money every day. And even your team of people, they keep hearing, because, there is, in any company, yours, mind, whatever, it's everyone talks and, array, there's been a loss, there's been this. It's not good for the morale.
Yes, yes.
Things are kept. So hopefully we break even by October or by November, certainly by the end of the year. Keeping things positive. See, here I am not taking into account the other aspects. Other aspects are that there is this continued increase in COVID cases doesn't become a strong wave. So I'm assuming that it will not.
Okay.
Because if that happens, then there are no bets, no projections, nothing can be.
So let us hope for the best.
Yeah. So we hope that it will be like a normal pandemic of a new virus, or which normally dies down after some time, whether it's through herd immunity or for whatever reasons. The second assumption is that the India-Chinese situation does not expand because, even if it expands just between India and China, it will lead to eruptions all along the border. So, what we had recently in the Galwan Valley will happen at maybe 20 places between Ladakh and Sikkim. And then it will be really quite serious because then the air forces will come in, and I don't even want to talk anymore of it. And then it can also attract the involvement of our other friend and neighbor on the west, and it's going to become then a very difficult thing
But sir,
to handle.
See from economics point of view, the kind of trade India and China are doing together. From that angle, there are very less chances of real escalation because it is not a war which is fought on the front. This is the war which is fought on the economic side also, trade side also. So I think we should be hopeful that in the near terms the tension would be definitely scaled down.
Yes, because that would be, from the economics point of view, that would be our effort. Because remember that trade with us, both exports and imports, with us is a minuscule for China. China is the largest trader in the world by far. And trade with India is a very tiny percentage of it. On the other hand, our issue is that, if we take our entire industry, 8% of our entire industry is totally dependent on Chinese imports. That's a huge amount. It's a gigantic amount. This is industry which is totally dependent. It'll just shut down. Look, if tomorrow imports from China stop, even our entire auto industry will shut down. Whatever is as it is, auto is in bad shape. So
pharma, lot of ingredients of pharma industry.
APIs, the entire APIs.
Yes. So let us hope for the best again. That's what we can do as of now.
Hope for the best.
So,
keeping aside these, accentuation of these unfortunate issues, I think we will certainly, as an industry, be at break even by the end of the year. And this is only, I'm talking about the packaging industry and FMCG. FMCG may break even slightly earlier, 1 month before us. Because we are a defensive stock, so people have to buy. Everyone wants food to eat. Everyone wants toothpaste, etc. So I think the near term very difficult, short term survival, and medium term I can which I would say is the middle of next year. The middle term starts. I think we would be in positive bottom line. We would be generating some cash flow, but it would be minimal amount. So EBITDA, I would expect the industry to be maybe at about 2% or 3% EBITDA, which is not bad.
I think there are some worries about MSME sectors in which a small sector is not very organized. So government of India has given a uh, good stimulus of 20 lakh crores, which we say around 10% of our GDP. Let us see if, as you are saying, short term, medium term, long term. So survival in short term and medium term is very, very crucial for their existence and future.
I'm, uh, I'm sorry, but I have to very straightforward tell you that the 20 lakh crore is a little bit, that you want to tell people some positive news. You want the media to write positive news. You want people to talk positive.
People are saying
But
it is
it isn't
10%,
this.
some are 10%. So it's a very big debate on that issue. Maybe long
No,
chapter.
the fact of the matter is that most of it, 90% of it is based on liquidity
Yes,
at best, and getting liquidity through it won't even happen in the medium term.
yes, very good.
Because even going through all the processes, procedures, etc., for God's sake, even the amount of food which was to go to very poor people, only 50% of it has reached. At
Yes.
best, that's a positive number. And this is as people are starving, only 50% has reached. So I don't expect even the liquidity enhancement actions to start bearing fruit in some kind of significant way till the medium term starts.
So,
Um,
so connecting the dots on a positive side, uh, my second question is that as India is one of the fastest global economy, home to a fifth of world's youth, 50% population is below 25 years of age, and having nearly 560 million internet subscribers. Do you feel that these may be some strong fundamentals to boost consumption post pandemic, or we may be better than the USA or a Europe or a China? Uh, should we be hopeful because of these strong fundamentals?
these fundamentals, some of them are very sorry, Sanjay, but they are not true in the sense that you can have youth, but if the youth is not skilled,
Hmm.
it cannot become productive. There
Okay.
is a limit to unskilled people which we can utilize because we don't have, or we are not willing to at least spend the money directly on just people who lay bricks or break up stones. That means infrastructure, the base of infrastructure.
Hmm.
Uh, but this youth is great for our long term because hopefully
Hmm.
all this talk so far of skilling will actually start happening in the coming years so that the long term this youth becomes highly productive. The other aspect why the youth can become productive is that even without what we call traditional education, we have seen that a young mind latches on to technology very fast.
Okay.
So you even have people who cannot read or write who are using the mobile phone.
This is
And
very,
therefore,
very.
you can become productive through the fact that you can understand technology. So
Hmm.
you can have people at areas where they just have to make entries and make sure that certain material moves in a certain way or something happens on a screen, etc. Who need not be that skilled, and they can pick that up very fast. So, but this again, we are talking of 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Today, our problem is the opposite. We have very young people who are extremely frustrated, extremely angry. And that is a scaring aspect. That is a
What,
very scary aspect.
so what is the way forward?
The way forward is simple. I think it's just like, you know, we have to do things which actually genuinely handle a crisis in hand. It's like, I mean, what are the best examples? I'm sure that in DS there must have been many crises. I remember when we had the Gujarat earthquake. I remember when our main plant in Thana came under 5 feet of water completely during the famous Bombay flood, and all our machines, everything was wiped out. What do? You run everything simultaneously by hand, and it doesn't matter if you have to handle 2,000 people, 3,000 people, but you go through it in a very logical step by step, and you work 20 hours out of 24. And the only reason you are not working for 4 hours is because you better get at least that much of sleep, otherwise you'll be dead. So you have to take things in hand and get things done.
Okay.
You know, what we need to understand is well done is much better than well said.
Yes, yes, yes.
We have recently become masters at saying things well, but doing nothing. Actually,
Execution is more important.
is a disaster.
Yes. So, sir, one more question for my side. Uh, I strongly believe that in order to become more competitive, packaging industry is focusing more to reduce cost. Don't you feel that instead importing innovations from Europe or USA, a planned investment in R&D having collaboration with our premium institutes like IIT, IM, ISC, ISRO, DRDO, and others are required
Oh,
because
yes.
globalization is slightly changing towards regionalization.
Sanjay, you know me well, so you know that this is a pet subject of mine. Innovation, research and development,
Yes,
basically, because I think when we are talking about the packaging industry at large, we really are more in the development side than in the pure research side, which is really at molecular level, which we expect people who are producing at the base polymer level or the base material level to do. I believe this is extremely important, and if we come down to in brass tacks, uh, the fact is that after this COVID crisis hopefully stabilizes in another month or so, you're going to have people, which I believe psychologically will be the impact, who will either buy basic essentials, because that's what they've got used to during the crisis. So everyone will say, okay, I just want, something simple, which I've been having. I've been having moong dal and bhindi, I want simple. But if you want them to buy something upmarket, what they used to do and say, oh, this thing is worth having, and it's even worth paying 10% more for. That means the premium products, they have got used to saying we don't need that premium. So you need innovation. You desperately need innovation for them, and the word will spread so fast. Today, one thing during the COVID crisis which has happened is that social media has become a domineering aspect of 99% of the population. It's a domineering aspect, and everything and anything is talked about, including food, personal products, and the like. Because I noticed that I'm a member of 3 building societies here, and I've noticed that just within there's so much of talk that, remember, the moment this opens, I want to have this, or do you know where this is available? And before this happened, there was this new flavor which was coming in. There's a lot of talk. You must have also experienced it about products. Where is the availability? What is it? So if you are ready with something different, you will get that cream right away, because I think people are not going to go back to the same old, pay extra for the same old premium product. No, they will want a different type of.
So creativity and innovation are the keys.
Is going to be the key. Absolutely. The other thing is, innovation is required to improve products for society.
Yes,
I
yes,
believe
very.
COVID it's not just for climate and waste management, as we all know, which is very, very important. But I think during COVID, people have become a little more sensible,
Yes.
which is very good. And if we take advantage of this right now, we can it'll be that much easier to become a litter-free society, which I think is the starting point of
Starting.
waste.
I think
So
people are becoming that educated.
yeah, they're going to be looking for things where people will say that, look, this is better for society, what I'm offering you, which they already are. They're waiting for that.
Sir, it may be fun to talk to you and knowledgeable also, but as you have a limited time, so my last question, are you still hopeful and optimistic? And what is your message to all of us?
I was very clear when I told you that in the long term, I'm optimistic, and long term obviously comes after 3 years. So but we have to build up to that. We
Okay.
can't just sort of expect it to become, great overnight, but we have to do certain things in a graded manner. And as a country, we can't sort of also just, take a leapfrog in 1 second. So it takes time to move forward in a graded manner. And my message is to go back to old term values. I
Okay.
have a real serious problem, Sanjay.
Hmm.
As a country, as as a nation, as people belonging to a nation, we have forgotten old term values. We no longer talk in terms of good or bad. Just two simple words.
Yes, yes,
This
yes.
is good. This is bad. We no longer do. So all our heroes are people who are doing a lot of bad things and they are forgiven totally. अरे ये तो सब कुछ करता है, ये तो चलता है.
Yalta. That has to be stopped.
That has to be, we have to go down to the basics. We have to be proud of doing great things, right things. We have to uphold the best values. And if we do that in our work, it automatically means your quality management, no one is going to be happy with a bad quality product. We desperately need to improve our quality. And that comes from having great values more than anything else. That you feel ashamed of making a bad quality product.
So, sir, thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and joining us today. And as I have earlier told, your voice is very, very important to all of us, and we will try to follow you what you are. Uh, you have just told and have given a message to all of us. And it is always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Come once again.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Thank